Howdy, who all my stock market gamblers? Welcome today. I'm Tall Mike. So glad you're here. Well, we made it to the end of the week. So what happened this week? Well, we continued our downward pattern, right? This is the third down week in a row. We're only down about 5, maybe 6%, right? And I do expect this market to a little bit of a bounce. See, the bulls are not just going to let this free fall. They're going to make another run at the top, right? It's a topping process. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't go straight down. The bulls are going to try to take back over and try to push this up, but we'll make a lower high and then we'll head back even lower. You see, we're not down at the bottom yet. It's got a ways to go, but nothing goes straight down. So be careful when you shorten it, because I do expect them to make another run to try to push it up to that top, right? But I think it'll be a lower high followed by a lower low. That's just my take. There's a lot of risk in this market right now, and the risk is to the downside. The FOMO is gone. The fear of missing out, not so much. Now people are worried that we're going to the downside, and they should be, because that's where the risk is. I think there's more downside, but the topping pattern is not over yet. They're going to take another run at it. They have to. The bulls don't give up that easy. The Moon Boys want to push it to new record highs. I don't think they'll be able to do it. I think we'll make a lower high and then head lower. This is just my take. Okay, so let's get over to some real estate talk here. All right, so Redfin comes out with their poll, right? Their poll says that 40% of all renters think that they will never, ever be able to afford to buy a home. 40%. Now, just a year ago, that number was only 27%. So now more people are thinking, no chance, no way can I ever buy a home. Now, why are they thinking that? Okay, well, they got this student loans, right? They came back. They have to pay those. Credit card loans, right? They came back. They have to pay those. Well, they never went away, right? But they got to pay their credit card loans. Got to pay your auto loans. They got to pay a lot. And their living expenses, rent still up here at towards the top. Food costs, gas costs, everything's up, right? Okay, and here's the problem. Here's the problem. People are running out of money now. How do I know they're running out of money? Well, because of credit card delinquencies. Credit card delinquencies are about, of all the credit cards out there, about 6% are not making any payments at all. They're delinquent. They're done, right? And this number has doubled in the last year. Just last year, people have ran out of money. Okay, and what do I think's going to happen? Well, I think there's going to be some problems here. I think right now they can't pay their bills, but I think it's going to get worse, not better. I think that the unemployment's going to start to kick in. Now, it's already kicking in, right? I mean, we're seeing a lot of layoffs in a lot of different areas. Different industries are having a lot of layoffs. And here's the thing. They interviewed all the CEOs of businesses, right? The leaders of the businesses. And 40% of them said that they're still going to do more layoffs in their companies. So about 40% of companies still are going to have more layoffs, right? Now, 50% of companies are enacting what's called a hiring freeze. They're not hiring anybody. So these 40% of companies that are going to be laying people off, they're people that get laid off are not going to be able to find a job to pay their rent, to pay their mortgage. Now, I don't think any job out there is safe right now. You don't know how bad this can get. You see, when people get laid off, it kind of brings bad things to the economy, and then more people get laid off, because the people that get laid off, they can't pay their bills, and so they can't go out and buy stuff. They can't go out and spend money, so the economy gets a little worse, and you have to lay off more people than you originally thought you had to lay off. That's why 40% of CEOs still think there's more layoffs coming for their company. So I don't think that any job's safe. Now, how much money do you have saved up? Like, let's say you lost your job today. Could you survive 6 months? Could you survive a year? Could you make your mortgage payments, your car payments, your credit card payments? Could you make all those payments for a year if you did not find a job? Some people have a shorter lag time, right? Some people only have 6 months. 6 months, they can hang on for 6 months, and then they have to do something. They have to find a way to get money, and usually the money is tied up in the house, and the house has to go on to the marketplace. There's going to be massive financial strain for a lot of people. A lot of people are already feeling the financial strain. The reason is because of inflation, right? Every bill keeps going up. Now, government They tell you that there's 4% inflation out there, right? Now, Tall Mike's telling you it's closer to 8 or 10% if you use the way it was measured back in the 80s. So inflation's a problem for a lot of people. Now, here's what's really disgusting to me. I find this really appalling, actually. Okay, so you got inflation running at 4%. Based on the government's numbers, but yet the Fed is still talking about lowering rates when they should actually be raising them to fight this inflation. See, the Fed doesn't want inflation to go away. Their target, they'll openly admit they want to steal 2% of your money every year for the rest of your life. That's what they want to do. Well, why do we have that number? Why do we want 2% inflation as the target rate? Why can't we have like a target rate of 2% deflation, meaning prices go down by 2% each year for the next, let's call it, 50 years. Why can't prices go down, right? They don't want that because then they cannot steal your money legally, right? They cannot just steal your money. That's what inflation is. It's theft. It's a tax on everything. It's a tax on everything you make, everything you spend, everything you have in savings gets taxed. And the only way they can do that is to have inflation. So they never want to see a target rate of a negative 2%, right? 2% deflation. They don't want to see that because then the Fed cannot make money. They cannot steal your money, and this would be bad for them, right? So they got to keep that target rate at 2%. But we're double that right now. We're at 4% on their own numbers, really 8 or 10%, and they're already talking about, cutting rates. Cutting rates. Why are they talking about that? Well, they got to protect that banking system. The banks are going to be falling over like dominoes, mark my words. Banking problem, not over, but they also want to protect their rich friends, right? If they raise the rates, which they should do to get the inflation down, then their rich friends would lose a lot of money. And you can't have your rich friends losing a lot of money. That just isn't what the Fed does. They protect the wealthy. They protect the billionaires. They protect the ultra rich. The poor people, they go away. A lot of people are going to die. It's going to be very sad when this thing all unravels. They're not going to be able to afford food. The suicide rate's going to skyrocket, right? And the middle class is just going to get crushed. It's going to go away. There's not going to be a middle class anymore. You're going to have the extreme rich and then just poverty level. Now, there's a lot of things that bother me about our government. To start with, the thing that bothers me the most about our government, they spend twice as much money as they take in from our tax dollars. And they take in a lot of tax dollars, right? Almost $4 trillion, let's call it, right around $4 trillion, but they're spending double that. Twice as much, spending $8 trillion. Now, why? Why do they have to do that? Are we at war? Technically, they say no, but I know 2 wars that we're paying for, and we're about to go into a 3rd war, and we'll be paying for that one also because we have the extra money. You see, now look at you take the President Biden, right? Okay, he's got an election coming up, so he wants to go out and buy votes, right? He wants to cancel all the student loans. He wants to put the country into bankruptcy. Country's already bankrupt. Country doesn't have money to pay off your student loans, but he's got to buy the votes because he's worried he's going to lose the power, right? They don't want to be kicked out of office. Jerome Powell would lose his job. Then he'd know what it's like to be unemployed. Now, of course, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars, so it's not really going to affect him that much, but a lot of people are going to see unemployment coming. Unemployment is going to be coming a lot stronger than you're already seeing. And this is just what's going on right now. I mean, it's nothing that's, the mainstream media will tell you about the layoffs. Tesla, for example, where they laying off 10% of their workforce, right? Okay, that's just one company, man, but it all is kind of this waterfall effect. One company lays them off, people can't pay their bills, more companies have to lay people off. Now, right now, 65% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck. They don't have any money. They're out of money. As soon as they lose their job, they cannot make their rent payment. They cannot make their mortgage payment. They have to do something extreme, right? Paycheck to paycheck. The credit cards are already maxed out. We know that because the default rates on credit cards have just doubled. They just doubled in the past year, right? Because people have run out of money. People have maxed out their credit cards. They've gone to these buy now, pay later loans, right? And those things are not getting repaid back because they can't get another credit card to pay them back. See, the debt is kind of being constricted. Matter of fact, just the other day, I got a letter from my bank. Anyways, I don't use my credit card very much. Apparently, they're upset about that. They're decreasing my credit limit. Now, I find that fascinating when I have, 5, 6 times my credit limit with money just sitting in their bank account, but they're decreasing my limit. Well, watch me decrease my bank account with that particular bank. Anyways, they just are bad business people. That's what the bankers are. Bad business people, and they do it with our money. They don't have your money. Every bank in America insolvent. FDIC doesn't have your money, less than 1 cent on every dollar a year. So banks are very dangerous right now. And I do think the banks are going to be falling over one after another. Another thing that I'm really upset about, see, even though we're not in a physical war, we just pay for physical wars. We are in what's called an economic war. We are in an economic war. We are being invaded, right? We're being invaded from the southern border. They're coming in by the millions. They're overrunning the hospital system, overrunning the school system. Now, most of the people that are coming in are good people, right? But when you bring in 5, 10 million people, well, a percentage of those people are bad people. They're bank robbers, they're terrorists, they're murderers, they're rapists, they're bad people. And we just let them in. We don't know who these people are. We just have the border wide open, but we're being overrun. And it's illegal. Like I can't go out and rob a bank because that's illegal, right? I can't do that. Well, these people, it's illegal for them to come in our country this way. They're invading us, and it's an economic invasion. We cannot afford to support these people. Now, I know a lot of people go and say, but Mike, these people, they have nowhere else to go. They're just looking for a better life. I'm not faulting the people, right? If I lived in their country, I'd want to get to our country too. I get that. But we cannot afford to support all of these people. And this is what's called an economic invasion. Look, there is no army in the world that's going to come into the United States with machine guns and win a war against us. It's not going to happen. Just never going to happen. What they're going to do is send in the masses and masses of people to crush us economically. We are in an economic war, and we are losing it. We are a bankrupt country, a lot of bankrupt companies out there, but we're a bankrupt country, and we can't afford to have this economic invasion. We have to stop it. We have to stop it immediately. We have to send the people back to their country because we cannot afford them. This is just my take, right? And everybody's got their own opinion. Some of this is political, right? Some of them think the government should send stimulus checks to everybody, and you may get another stimulus check. We got an election coming up. What are they going to do? They're going to buy votes with money we don't have, put us farther and farther into debt so that they can stay in power. That's all the politicians want to do, is stay in power. It's not a left or right thing. It's not a Republican or a Democrat thing. Everybody wants to get into power, and they will do anything to do that, right? They don't care about us, the people. They don't care that our country is bankrupt. They don't care that we need a plan to get out of it, and the plan that they got of spending twice as much money as we take in, they don't realize that that's not the right plan. But that's what they want to do, and that's what they want to have happen. Now, watch what happens to assets. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about real estate. We always talk about real estate because we love it. But the big bubble, the big real estate bubble is starting to pop, right? It's starting to pop in the United States. But this isn't where it started. It's already popped in China. Real estate bubble has popped in China. Canada down about 15% all across Canada. Now, I understand there's some areas of Canada where it's only down 4 or 5% so far. And after a 50% run up, 4 or 5% drop is like a drop in the bucket. But the bubble's starting to pop. And the bubble's starting to pop in the United States. You can tell it in new home sales. New home sales down about 14% year over year. Much worse than that after they buy down the mortgage, after they give you the $50,000 in upgrades, the prices are coming down, right? The bubble's starting to pop. Things are changing. Be patient. The housing crash is coming. If you're patient, you will be the one that gets rewarded. If you go out there and buy now, like Mr. Ramsey says, Mrs. Cochran says, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be called the bag holder. And that bag's going to get really heavy because there's going to be a lot of downward pressure. A lot of equity is going to be wiped out in the housing market. The bubble is starting to pop, and it's coming to the United States, started in China, going through Canada, going through a few other countries, but it's coming to the United States. The biggest real estate bubble in the world is going to pop. Already popping in the commercial market. Commercial real estate, that bubble's popped, right? Down about 50%. Housing market's next. Be patient. It's coming. I'm Tall Mike. Get out there, everybody. Have a great weekend. Give me the thumbs up first. Why not? Why not? Bye-bye now.